Hey Lisa,
Hey Steve.
you okay?
Yeah, good to be back having
Oh,
another casual conversation with you.
I know. I love our regular catch-ups now. It's a
Thank you.
new thing that I look forward to as well. We've got, as usual, we've got another topic that we've chosen, which is this week we're talking about comfort zone.
hmm Yeah, and I remember I guess 2 weeks ago when we were talking about what to talk about next, we both are like, yeah, comfort zone. We need to talk about that. And I know I almost want to start with there's so much that people say about comfort zones. It's almost like one of those um, terms that some people kind of back away either quickly or slowly when they hear it because it's so
Hmm.
used sometimes. Um, and I think it's such an important part of living a well-lived life or a fulfilling life is this idea of, am I in a space of things are status quo and have been for a while? Or is there new and fresh and challenge and opportunity? Um, so, I mean, from your perspective, how would you define comfort zone? Like, what do you see as comfort zone?
I think for me, it would probably be described, well, at least for me, it would be my natural state of being and doing. That's probably the short answer
Yeah.
that comes to mind. And it's like, yeah, I would call it maybe my default state of being and doing, i.e., the way I'm used to showing myself, showing up in the world, and the things I'm used to doing
Mm.
that don't give me a sense of anxiety. That's probably how I would explain it. How
So
about you?
your natural way of being and doing that don't give you a sense of anxiety.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think for me, when I'm outside of the comfort zone, the anxiety always shows up, not massively, but to some degree. To some degree, you know.
Yeah. Um, my comfort zone, for me, I think like there's a spectrum of comfort zone. And for me, I almost equate it somewhere in there with boredom. When I like
Mhm.
life starts just getting monotonous, status quo, I start getting bored, I start not engaging. I kind of feel it's kind of a sign for me that I'm likely in my comfort zone and I've probably been there for a while. And it's time
Yeah,
to shift things up a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Because although I say my natural state of being and doing, it doesn't mean it's an enjoyable state. No, it's like it could be in the same job for like 10 years, even though I'm not. But if I was, it could be, it doesn't necessarily mean that's enjoyable, but you're just used to it, right? It's like driving a car. You know how to do it unconsciously, but over time, it's probably not going to give you that much fulfillment because the boredom, like you say, will always kick in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally relate to that.
So do you think that it's ever okay to be in your comfort zone? Do you think there's times when kind of being in our comfort zone serves us?
I think so. I think because I think everybody's different, right? So I believe there'll be people that might say, I enjoy my comfort zone and I actually enjoy it, i.e., I'm not longing for anything. I like my environment. I like knowing what I'm going to do every day, and I'm happy with my life. So I think in that respect, if you're in the comfort zone, your natural state of being and doing, and you're happy and you're genuinely happy, i.e., you're not just saying it, you feel it, you feel like that inner contentment, then I guess, yeah, I couldn't say that that's me, but I believe that there's people out there that are, whether you call it easily pleased or just generally content, then yes, I think it could serve you in that respect. Um, because it's probably safe and comfortable, right? Hence the word comfort zone. So yeah, sometimes it's nice to be safe and comfortable, but not for too long. If I look at my own life.
Mhm.
What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a very personal thing. I want to say that throughout a lifetime, there's almost, and I don't know this. This is like an inner knowing. I don't have any research to suggest this, but within a lifetime, I think if we're always in our comfort zone, I think we might look back with some regret.
Mm.
When I think life is too comfortable and too safe, it's not exciting and fulfilling, and like it feels like it's stagnant. And I think so many of us during COVID kind of lived not at the beginning when everything was uncertain and ambiguous and we had no idea what was going on. We certainly weren't in our comfort zone then. But I think as it dragged on, the monotony of life was very comfortable and safe potentially. And I think that's where even Adam Grant's languishing term came in, where it's kind of like you need to look for some progress somewhere. I think we are wired as humans to look for some progress and to look for some growth. And I think you don't achieve that if you're always in your comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the human race generally, that would probably point to what you're saying. Like the fact that we've progressed as far as we have goes to suggest that most people, or a big proportion of people, it's human nature to want to improve, do better, explore, go on adventures, learn. So I would say, I think you're right. And I think most people at some stage in your life, you would benefit from going out of your comfort zone. Maybe when you're older and you've done a million things, possibly you could say, oh, I'm content now to live a quiet life and do what I'm used to. But I would say in this day and age, especially with the world changing so fast and people are learning so fast, I think the majority of people want to mix it up to some degree. And yeah, I think also as well, I'm just thinking as you were talking, like, I think we're so conditioned that sometimes that we don't even know that we're conditioned in terms of what we like doing or even how we express ourselves. Because, I think we all go through our life and we sort of adjust our behavior, don't we, to things that happen from when we're young right through to any age. I guess you sort of adjust and you know what you need to do to kind of stay safe in certain areas and how to get the desired results you want in certain areas. And you all of a sudden you kind of create this conditioned way of being. And it's so familiar to you that you don't necessarily know that may not be all you or all what you're capable of, I guess I should say. Because so many times I'll speak to someone and they'll say, oh, but that's just not me, or I'm just not someone that does this. And it's like, I can hear you saying the words, but is that really true? Or is it just how you're conditioned up to now? Because you feel like I'm either too scared to do X because I don't want to get hurt, or I don't want to get embarrassed, or my ego might be bruised, or there'll be some where I'm fearful versus actually what you really desire. I think they're two different things.
Yeah, I hear that all the time too. And I hear myself saying that sometimes, like, oh, I'm just not someone who does that. I agree with you. It might not be how you've been up until this point, but we've got this beautiful thing called choice. And we can actually choose how we behave in the future and in the present. And so we're always having an ability to make different choices that result in different outcomes and start to create a different way of being.
Yeah, and you'd have to sort of, I think there's, I guess, two ways of getting out of the comfort zone. It's like, sometimes there's like a disaster or some emergency and it forces you out. You might be someone that doesn't typically leave the house or doesn't typically do X, but something will happen where you have to. So you have a big enough leverage to do it. And I guess the other flip side is where you kind of know that it's needed and you push yourself out the comfort zone because you either have a set of goals that you want to achieve or something, you're so bored or so fed up that you know that actually I need to push myself. And I guess it's knowing, I guess the former, it proves that you can do it. Like we're all capable of doing pretty much anything, really, if we really got about doing it. It's just what's up here, isn't it, that often stops us from kind of stepping outside to the scary world, just outside the comfort zone, which is where all the excitement normally happens.
Yeah, and I think we sometimes make the fear that we feel a sign that we shouldn't take the step. And in fact, the fear is just a natural reaction to uncertainty and not actually stepping out of that comfort zone. That's all it really is. But sometimes I know I hear clients say it all the time. Well, maybe this is a sign I shouldn't go there. Maybe this is a sign I shouldn't do this. Maybe this is a sign that this was the wrong decision. And I'm always kind of encouraging them to go, well, just take a small step until you kind of know that that is how you're not supposed to go. And then you can move, right? But don't use fear as the reason not to go there, because fear, you're always going to come across against fear. You're going to face fear whenever you're stepping out of that comfort zone.
God, yeah, it shows up everywhere, doesn't it? Like every day, daily, daily occurrence, whether you're at work or somewhere, there'll always be something that you can always talk yourself out of anything, because like you say, the fear to keep you safe is often stronger than the kind of desire to achieve or to desire to create something. I guess it's just the way we're wired. And somebody said it to me, and I can't remember who it is, but it's around how we often play not to lose rather than play to win. And I think that sort of suits this scenario, right? We're playing in this zone not to lose what we already have, whether it's the job we hate but it pays the bills. You know, we're always trying to keep something safe rather than playing to win, actually get the big prize, the much kind of more exciting prize that just involves a few steps, you know?
Yeah, there's a Nelson Mandela quote that I can't remember exactly. It's something to the effect of, let your actions reflect your hopes and not your fears, right? So it speaks to that, right? It's let your actions speak to the big win, to your hopes and dreams and what might come that is aligned with what you want to experience in life, versus all the things that could possibly go wrong and all the fears that naturally come up whenever we're making those decisions that are not that are outside of our comfort zone, or not the natural next step, or not what everyone else does. Like all of that is outside of our comfort zone and naturally brings up fear.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what's your relationship with comfort zone? Like, how do you, as you reflect back on your life, how do you see your relationship being with being in or outside of your comfort zone?
I mean, I think if I look way back, I can definitely see how it's held me back when I was younger massively. Like, as I was saying earlier, you know, it applied to me in terms of the conditioning that you get from when you're younger. You sort of see people behave around you. You see what you need to do to kind of maintain a sense of stability. You start behaving in that way. So I know when I was younger, I was definitely behaving in a way that just kept me at a stable level. Wasn't too much, or wasn't too little. I just kind of almost just diluted myself down to this invisible, I guess, person, right? And that stayed for quite a long time. And it was probably in my early 20s where I started discovering, you know, personal development and stuff like that, that I realized, oh, is that actually me? Or is that just the me that's kind of grown or been conditioned, like I say? And I think it was Tony Robbins. I read one of his books, or did some of his CDs 20 years ago, which shows my age. Yeah, when I started listening to that, it just triggered something that it triggered another voice beyond what I thought was my voice, that sort of, I kind of saw myself from a different perspective. I was like, yeah, I don't really like that. I don't like that small version of you. And just through listening to the book, listening to those CDs, it really helped me. It kind of prompted you to take a step. You know, these kind of personal development things, all they're doing is trying to help you understand who you are and trying to get you to take a step, right? Like you were saying, another step, a step, and eventually you've taken 50 steps and the world looks completely different. And, you know, that process triggered me to move from my hometown, move up to York. I didn't know a single person, took a job that I didn't even know what the company really even did. And it was like, it was a new world. And that was a catalyst to everything else I've probably ever done in my life, which is moving again to a new city, doing new things that I have no idea how to do them. It's just, you only need to do one thing, I think, to realize that, oh yeah, like it's possible to step outside and be something else, and do something else and achieve something else.
Yeah. And I think you're almost starting to talk about some of the benefits of actually, because it's a risk to get out of your comfort zone. But you're talking about some of the benefits, right? Like having taken the step of doing something completely different with no guarantees that felt maybe uncomfortable at the time, you reaped benefits out of that process. What would you say were some of the benefits that you have today from having taken those risks back then?
God, there's probably so many. I wouldn't even know where to start, but I guess a few would be just the fact that I'm someone that can move anywhere and meet people and get on with anyone. You know, I'd lived in my hometown for 25 years roughly, and that's your life. That is your life. You think they're the people they're the people you're meant to be around. And then you move to a new city, you meet totally different people from different parts of the world, because I was working with an American company. And yeah, it just opened my eyes to realizing that you can stretch yourself to learn new things about yourself, meet new people, travel, learn new skills. It's like a Pandora's box. You open it and then everything starts coming out, because every step you take, you learn something new, and it leads to another step, maybe another step you didn't even know was possible when you first took the step. Because when you're in the comfort zone, it's like being in a bubble. It's like you're in a bubble, you can't see out of it, you can't see around the corners, so you've got no idea what exists on the end. It's just some kind of gray area, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you step out of it and you start navigating down the path, you're learning all this new stuff that you wouldn't even believe was possible, when you're in that kind of cocoon.
Yeah, it opens up so much more.
Yeah, you're just growing. I think we don't realize how much we have to offer and how much capacity we have to learn. We just operate in this, a lot of us operate in just a small zone of what is possible for us.
Yeah.
And again, I'm often quoting other people as we do, but someone mentioned to me once that, many of us live on a piano in the C, the C major, kind of that middle zone. If you play piano or learn piano, you kind of play that bit, but there's all these other keys that you can explore and learn, and you just need to start playing them and realize that actually it's not as scary as I thought, and all of a sudden you can create all this exciting new stuff.
I remember in the program that you and I took in Spain that they certainly kind of placed us out of our comfort zone intentionally several times, right? Well, throughout all the time.
Constantly, yeah.
And I remember at certain points where for me personally, I don't think I'm as comfortable expressing emotions like anger. And so I remember really sitting in the question, like, what is the use? Like, what is the benefit here of me living and expressing this when it just really not comfortable for me? And I think once we start what I started to realize is once we start playing the whole piano and we start feeling comfortable in all of the different notes, including the ones that we don't know as well, we're just better equipped to handle anything that comes our way. I think we're like, I felt sturdier in myself and knowing that I could go there. And that I could either mess things up horribly, but clean them up again, or be in anger, but keep that inner strength within me to still align with what I was up to or what was important to me, rather than just dull it, as you put it, and just, put that under a blanket and forget that I even know or can feel anger, right? And so, I think even in, we've been talking a lot about doing things, but I think even in our own emotional spectrum, we can get out of our comfort zone. I know for me, the anger was one and is still one that I need to feel comfortable in being with, right? Even when I see people angry, I'm like, it takes me off kilter. And so I guess my point is, number one, there's all sorts of different ways I think that we can experience different comfort zones. And the benefit is that we can experience a much fuller spectrum of life and be able to receive it from others as well.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you're saying about that, because you're right. It's not just about the sort of doing things and learning to kind of go out or meet people. It's like the way of being, the way you show up. Like, even you could speak to somebody that is the most miserable person in the world, or their default is to be negative, right? But that's their comfort zone. That's what they've created over time. Probably maybe they've had some trauma or mild trauma, and that's just triggered that conditioned way of being. And some people, they don't even know how to get out of that. It's so default and ingrained. And what I loved about the leadership program that we did where they threw us into this house and we all lived together, right? For 20 plus people living in a house together in Spain from all over the world. I mean, that in itself is pushing outside your comfort zone, right? Especially with the sharing rooms with random people, you know, that definitely sort of stretched me a bit. But yeah, I loved how they exposed you to showing up emotions maybe you'd never shown, or like you say, just addressing the, you know, pushing back and being more assertive and being more challenging of people. Because I know for me, and maybe I know we're quite similar, like we operate quite comfortably in that middle ground of saying what we think, but in a nice way. You know, and it's not that we're forcing ourselves. I think we're generally pretty nice people, right? But being forced to show up in maybe the complete opposite way and pushed into that, you think, I don't want this, it's not me. But actually, as you said, you sort of learn a lot about yourself. And it doesn't mean when you go back into the world, you need to be, you know, aggressive or anything with everyone. But actually, the calibration for me, since we did that program, I would say I'm more assertive. You know, I feel like I step more into assertion, more so from exploring that much bigger range. So I guess the key is just to play around with stuff, you know, work out where new things or new ways of being can kind of actually serve you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of, you know, coming out of, well, let's put it in quotations, coming out of COVID, in quotations. So many people are kind of reassessing life, and I think we've talked about this, but I feel like we're at this stage where more and more people are willing to step out of their comfort zone. And we've been certainly faced with a lot more that that's different and uncertain. So we naturally kind of just went there at a necessity because we just didn't know where this was going. And so I feel like there's a lot more people. I know for me, a lot more people are coming to me going, no, this is it. Like I'm done with playing it safe. I want to change in my life. And I like, now's the time to do it, right? And now you see companies kind of scrambling, going, how do we retain people? Because people are leaving in droves.
I mean, I think people, I think people have noticed that the whole lockdown and COVID, it forced everyone to slow down. And when you slow down, you have time to think. And when you have time to think, you get to look around at your surroundings and your life, and you get to go, is this actually what I designed? Is it, or would I have designed this? Is this what I actually enjoy? Or previously, was I so busy I had no space to even notice my life? You know, and I'm seeing the exact same thing. It's like, with all that thinking time, and now with being able to potentially come out of at least the lockdown, I think people are motivated to start craving and creating what they actually want. It's like, life's too short.
Yeah. And I think people also realize that they can handle much more than they ever thought they could.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because it was all kind of thrown at us. We were all out of our comfort zone. There was no certainty or proven path forward. And so we kind of living through this for 2 years now, we're kind of like, oh, you know, we can do hard things. Like we can navigate things. And so that's opened up possibility, I think, for people.
Yeah, I agree. And in a way, I sort of see the comfort zone as like, you've got the circle in the middle. I think it kind of expands and contracts, and depending on where you lean in and it's just habit, right? And familiarity. So, you know, whereas the comfort zone for some people was probably going out, and I know some people actually, where their comfort zone, they would have said is, oh, going out, I need to be around people. Now they're scared to go back and be around people. So the comfort zone shifted, right? So it's interesting. To me, it just shows that the more you do something, the more it becomes comfortable and it becomes your default. So, you know, the more you lean into different things and try different things and create variety and shoot for your goals, the zone will just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'll look back and go, wow, my comfort zone used to be like this thick, and now it's like out here.
And I think, I know for me, so looking back on my own life and my own comfort zones, what I realized was that I tended to try to push out of my comfort zone throughout like my career, throughout, I would get bored easily. I would do something. I don't know that it was fueled from a healthy place. I think it was
Mm,
fueled from a place of trying to prove I could do more rather than from a genuine wanting of growth. I think there was a little bit of that in there too. I think I wanted to grow. My dad introduced me to personal development as in my teenage years, and it's been like a passion of mine since, of just human behavior and nature and all of that. But I know that I was striving. I think the comfort zone, coming out of my comfort zone in my career, was at least in large part, me striving. And so I think there were some definite costs to that. I think there were still some benefits, even from the striving, because I started to really realize that I could depend on myself. I wouldn't get it right the first time. I would screw up along the way. I would feel anxious and insecure and doubt myself. Like I did, I knew that I would go through that. And then at some point it would level off, and then I would start getting bored again. And then I'd look for that other striving thing. And then the
yeah,
process would start again. And so while I wouldn't recommend people to, take their getting out of the comfort zone from a place of striving and trying to prove yourself, because I think there's some real costs to that, and I experienced them. The benefit that I had from, just putting myself out there and in things that I didn't know, like I was reporting to a board at some point. I had never done it before. I'm like, what the heck? Like there's all sorts of different experiences
mm,
that I had that I just figured I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to do the best that I can. And I think I've got a trust in myself as a result of it, like a level of confidence as a result of it, because I just went
yeah,
through it so many times.
yeah. I mean, you don't have to love what. To me, I don't think necessarily matters the reason that pushes you out of it. I do think there's benefit even if you go out of the comfort zone and it's like, and you're miserable for a little while, because it shows you what you don't like. If you do something a few times out of the comfort zone and you still don't like it, then actually maybe it's not for you. But at least you tried, and you're learning through the process, and you can pivot to something else. Whereas if you never leave and you just do the same old thing, then you're losing out on all the possibilities of what you might discover on the other side. And I know we talked a few weeks ago, I guess it was, around goals and things, and we talked about sometimes, especially when you're younger, you don't even really know why you're going for things. You're doing things because you think that's what the world wants you to do. So some of our goals, like around career, particularly improving ourselves, we kind of do it because that's what we think we should do. Whereas I guess, my advice to anyone would be like we said when we spoke before, like really look at your values and what makes you excited and what you are craving and what you imagine your life would be if you had no fear, and then start designing, okay, what's the step out of the comfort zone towards that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that will at least start putting you in the right direction.
Yeah. And I know for me, and I'm going to say, this is universal, that once you're out of the comfort zone, you kind of have to anticipate that you're going to feel discomfort. Like that's a sign that you're out of your comfort zone. You don't feel discomfort at some level, then you're still likely in your comfort zone, right? So the idea that you're going to kind of push yourself and then you're just going to always feel secure in that and no self-doubt and no, it's kind of like, well, then really are you outside of your comfort zone? Because being outside, doing something different, putting things at risk, not knowing what the future will bring, ultimately brings those thoughts. It's just how we're wired. We're supposed to keep ourselves safe. And the minute you're outside of that, you're risking something.
Yeah.
So
That's where the confusion comes in.
yeah, like you got to kind of know that it's going to feel uncomfortable for a while.
Yeah, because the brain will try and keep you safe always. And I know this harks back to, a long time back where we need to survive. Whereas in life now, rarely does it come to life and death. So our brains are still telling us, oh my God, we're going to die. If we go outside the comfort zone, we do something new. We're really not. So for me, the biggest tip is just to create a habit of telling yourself that anything I want to do, I will do it, and I know it will be painful. Like you said, I know it's going to be. So whatever I do, even when it's starting a new job, whether it's starting a new sport, whether it's joining a new gym, there will always be some level of pain because it's unfamiliar and we don't really like the unfamiliar. So, but if we tell ourselves that and we start to create a habit of being someone that tells ourselves that, we will just start stepping into things. And actually, when you know that and you go there, it actually isn't as bad because you know it's going to be uncomfortable, but actually just knowing it is not as bad, at least in my experience. Yeah.
Well, no, that's been my experience as well, because it's not the thought that, oh, this is uncomfortable. Is this going to work out? That's the issue. It's the ongoing thought that, oh my gosh, like it's all the things we pile on it that I think makes it worse. If we just let that thought come, oh, it's going to be uncomfortable, or I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, this might not work. I might embarrass myself. And you just let it come and go, yeah, of course I'm going to have that conversation. Of course that thought's going to come up. Just the natural thing that my brain doesn't seem to have that same impact as if you believe it.
Yeah, and the more you do stuff that's different, and you force yourself, even if it's small steps here and there, you will become someone that lives in a comfort zone of embracing change. You'll suddenly become someone that your comfort zone is someone that's comfortable with change. And once you can be comfortable with change, then you can do whatever you want in the world.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we want to underline in terms of comfort zone? What do we want people to walk away with?
I guess it's the benefits of stretching yourself and how to do it. So I guess for me, the benefits are to live a more fulfilled life, a more exciting life, a more adventurous life, to live and not exist, which some of us do or have been guilty of in the past. It's like, let's start truly living. We've seen what it's like to be locked down and have everything restricted. So, what's the worst that can happen by getting out there and really pushing ourselves to experience more of life?
Yeah, I agree. I think by putting ourselves out there, by trying new things, by exploring areas of ourselves that we might feel a little uncomfortable with, or just not as familiar with, I think we increase our confidence, we build resilience, or we tap into our resilience. And I think it is something that we need to live a fulfilling life. I think status quo is not how we were built to feel necessarily, the joy and excitement. I think some of it needs to be fresh and new. I think it's a requirement of life, and has us feel much more alive. So how do we think we can do this? So how do we, if we've been successful in having people feel like they want to get out of their comfort zone more so than they have, how can people start doing this in a way that is tangible?
Yeah. I mean, I would probably say get clear on what you are yearning for, i.e., like we said earlier, some people may not want to get out of the comfort zone because they're happy. Great. That's the best place to be. If you're genuinely content, and I don't mean like telling yourself, I mean genuinely, you can hand on heart say, I am content with my life. Great, don't do anything. But if you feel like a yearning for something, or you're stuck, or you're missing out on something, or you have a goal, write it down, get clear on what it is, and say, yeah, what is it I really want? If I had no fear, what do I want? That's quite a good question to reveal goals or reveal stuff that you might want to try. When you write it down and then say, right, who have I been up until now that's preventing me from doing that? And that will normally reveal you in your comfort zone, right? Who would I need to be to step into that, or to take, or what would the next step be towards that goal? Would it make me feel uncomfortable? Yes, great. That means that's what I need to do. So, and maybe, and for me, I'm a big advocate for like notes in my phone, or putting stuff visually. Put something out there that says, there's a quote that you hear often, which is, I think, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, or I am someone that steps out of my comfort zone. Whatever you need to tell yourself 2 or 3 times a day, looking at it, or notes in your phone that remind you that I'm going to become a person that starts stepping out of my comfort zone. towards those goals for the sake of living a fulfilled life.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost want to add to that, like a life with no regrets. Like,
Yeah,
there's, you regret the things you didn't try, and so it's kind of like, oh, I gave it my all. I probably failed a bunch of times. We all do, but I put myself out there. I tried. And I would underline, some of the things that we said, like, expect to feel some level of stress and anxiety. Like, that's just normal course for being out of your comfort zone. And prioritize where, like, you don't have to be out of your comfort zone in all aspects of your life, right? I probably would recommend pick one area.
yeah.
And
I agree with that. I agree with
pick one area where
that.
you want to have, and I know that for me, when things were stable in one area, I felt more prepared to live on the edge in another area. So pick where you really are called to take some risks and some small steps toward creating something, and then just start there. And know that you don't need confidence to do it, because I hear this all the time. I'm just not confident. I have self-doubt. I can't do this. Well, confidence is a byproduct. It's not at the beginning. It's not the thing you put into I'm going to totally screw this metaphor up, but it's not one of the ingredients you put into the cake. It's like it's the cake after, right? Like, you do hard shit is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Realize that you're capable of it. And so don't use confidence as a crux. Know that that's the practice of building it, is actually doing some stuff out of your comfort zone, and then start with the smallest little step. Like, you inspired to do something big and sweeping, great, go to it. But you don't have to start there. Start really small, and then move from there, because every small step uncovers more things. As you've said earlier, it uncovers possibilities, opportunity, information, data, and from there you'll know. You don't need the 10-step plan. You just need to know what comes next.
Yeah, small steps, bit of consistency and a bit of time, and you'll create anything. It's like the mountain analogy. You take a step, you look up and you think, how the hell am I going to climb that? And then you just take a step each time and you get to the top. It is actually that simple.
Yeah. I think that's it. Anything else that we want to say for today?
No, I think that's summarized. I mean, like all these topics, we could probably talk for hours, but that's a good high level intro of at least of my thoughts.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, as always,
Cool.
It's been a pleasure, Steve.
And I look forward to the next one.
Yeah.